Okay, so I'm back on Flight Simulator X and I'm going to take a mission after the disaster at Quito. So I think I'm still going to try myself on something harder, and I think I'm going to take the Dutch harbour approach is quite fun, but I'm going to go with the Monsoon approach in Singapore. So a long flight from England, descending towards Changi, Monsoon pounding the city. Let's go for it. So it's going to be largely an instrument landed flight here, and I badly need to redeem myself after the Quito, where I just didn't quite keep enough throttle on to land safely. So probably why I'm not a pilot. So we're back in that same 747 aircraft. Autopilot again is on, no flaps, 250, it's down to 10. So that's fine. So I just want to check out where Changi is on the map, what we're doing. So we're going to do this circular loop, I think, and then no, we're not landing at Tengwa. We're going round to here. There's Changi there. So one of these is going to be our landing runway. I'm not sure which one it is just yet, but it looks like it's going to be one of these ILS frequencies. If it is actually, that's just going to be either 108.3 or 110.9, depending on whether we're landing at 2 center or 2 left, or 20 degrees center or 10 degrees left. So it's going to be one of these two runways, basically, the center or the left. And it's either 108.3 or 110.9, so I will set those in the nav in advance. That's already set to 108.3, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be that one. So when we come to wanting to receive the radio signal from the runway so the plane can land itself, we're all set. Let's see what we can see outside. A few clouds, a bit of lightning.
Right 15 degrees, landmark 1123 heavy. Alright, fly heading 205.
Okay, so just adjust the heading dial there, so that the Omni bearing selector, I think it's called. So go to 205 gently. I'll get another view up for the excitement. So very Singapore Airlines there. Just see what we've got in the cockpit: a seat, a yoke. Sure, I can control with the joystick, which is useful. And also I've got a throttle control.
Left to 190, landmark 1123 heavy. Fly heading 190.
Okay, fairly easy to work the simulator for this. Just provided you know what the dials do. And if I took the speed hold off, then I could control the throttle with my yoke there, so I could take all the throttle off, or I could go full throttle like that, using the lever I've got on the joystick, which is quite cool. I'll just put the speed back on. Let's just slow down a bit. Just so that we make that descent path readily. I'll use the spoilers going a bit too fast, so if you could see that on the flyby there, if I zoom in, you should be able to see the spoilers armed.
Set flaps 5.
Just there's the armed spoilers, and then disarm the spoilers. So the co-pilot's just asked for 5 to be set on the flaps, so I can do that with the joystick or with F7 on the keys. I'll do it with the joystick, F5 on my joystick, and 2 settings of flaps that we should be able to see extending on the wings.
Left 083, landmark 1123 heavy.
So we've now got
083.
an alarm due to the, I think it's due to the flap setting and not having the gear down, maybe.
World travel 2117, send at 6,000.
Down to 6,000, world travel 2117.
Landmark 1123 heavy.
Yeah, so the alarm came off when I let the gears down.
1123 heavy.
We're slowing down.
10 knots. Use the spoilers if necessary.
Yeah, I think we'll use the spoilers again as suggested, as follows. You can see that just creates a resistance, and the laws of physics help us to slow down. Flaps will have the same effect of adding a bit of lift but also resistance to the wings. Down to speed now, so I'll take that spoiler off. We are still descending, so I think I'll just slow that rate of descent using the vertical speed switch to 800 feet per minute and see if we can keep it 210. So again, I've put the spoilers up rather,
1,000 to go. Set flaps
and I'll retract them again, set them down, flaps 20. If I'm getting the semantics wrong again, it's because I'm not a trained pilot and I'm probably using the wrong terminology. So flaps are now going to be set to 20. We should see that happening on the wings. It's going to slow the aircraft down slightly and also help us to get closer to landing speed and supplying a bit of lift if we were taking off. So we've got already got substantial flaps. We haven't even started turning towards the runway. I can look at the...
Off course to the right. Correct left.
Okay, well maybe I didn't hear that there was a bearing that we should have taken. I might have missed that, so I don't know where we're supposed to be heading bearing wise. But I will turn the left substantially to try to correct course.
We're way off course now.
I failed the mission because of that one. I don't quite know what happened there.
World travel 2117, turn left heading 050, send and maintain 2,500 knots to establish on the localizer. Cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Maintain 210 knots until established.
Left to 050, descending to 2,500. Cleared for the runway 2 center approach and will maintain 210 knots.
I'm still going to try the landing, even though the mission's officially done in. I can't communicate with air traffic control. I don't know what happened there. I must have missed one of the heading vectors. Just have a look on the map where we are. Oh, I see. So we've come out far too far. So there must have been a return heading vector that was given that we missed there. So I think we're okay continuing along this vector and just making a sort of an 80-degree turn to the left slowly. From about here. Should be okay. So unfortunately I won't have the benefit now of that co-pilot. Going a bit fast again. So I'm just going to descend down to 5,000, I think. Okay, so I've now not got a cursor either, so I can't control anything here. Hide the menu bar. There we go. No. Well, there's the. We've got a cursor back now. That's good. So we're going to go down to about 5,000. Just going to slow down to 200 as well. Just see if I can use the sat nav to locate the runway. I think it was WSSS, the code, wasn't it? WSAP, WSSS, yeah. So I just want to head off slightly to the right and then left to get in. Going to set this nav up now. 108.3. Just want to check that setting. It was 108.3 for the runway. So 108.3 will give us 2 center. So runway 2 center, which is that one. So are we headed in that direction? Pretty much. So the bug there is showing the heading. We need to head right perhaps before we cross, and we haven't got an altitude bug, which is a bit concerning, but it might be alright if it appears soon. Maybe when we get across this SAMKO Sierra Alpha Mike Kilo Oscar, whatever that is, VOR.
Turn left heading 050. Descend and maintain 2,500 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS runway 2 center approach. Maintain 210 knots until established.
Left is 050 down to 2.5. Cleared for the runway 2 center approach, and we'll maintain 210 for now. Landmark 1123 heavy.
So mercifully,
Landmark 1123 heavy with you on the ILS for 2 center.
mercifully we got our co-pilot back.
Heavy Singapore Tower. Wind 66 at 24 gusts 32. Runway 2 center cleared to land. Be advised, wind shear has been reported on final.
Singapore radar, world travel 2117 back with you. Missed approach.
Cleared to land. Landmark 1123 heavy.
Okay, so at least we got the landing clearance, and now we are established on the localizer. We do want to cross the bearing of the runway, which would cause this bug here to move to the left in order to get picked up for the approach. So I'm turning right slightly, also going to select APP. That's now switched off the heading bug and the altitude bug, so we're now going to get taken in on autopilot, which is excellent news. So I'm going to set the altitude up in case we have a missed approach. So I'm going to set that up for 10,000 and 1800 feet per minute to climb. I'm going to set the heading bug to runway heading, which was 20, in case again we get a missed approach and I need to get the autopilot back on fairly quickly and in the right direction. I know, why is that heading hold on? That's strange. It's off. Okay, so Speed, well, we're slightly under the glide slope at the moment, but it should adjust. The autopilot's doing its magic with the with that. I'm going to set the speed brakes armed, lower full flaps, and we've actually got plenty of room there. There's probably about 10 nautical miles, maybe 15 between here and the runway, but I am going to lower the gear once the speed gets down to about 160. Going off the Quito approach that we were trying, I think he said 155 was the landing speed, so I'm going to assume it's the same here. And I'm going to, as I say, just wait for that speed to come down a bit. 3,000 feet, I'm going to lower the gear. See how we go from there. So we're nicely on the glide slope. Flight director on.
Set flaps 30.
Well, I've done that already, preempted that. It's slightly below the glide slope, so I'm just going to increase the speed to 163. Or the target speed.
1,000 to go.
So that refers to the 2,500 that air traffic control wanted the aircraft to be flying at altitude wise. I don't like the fact we're slightly below the glide slope, especially that's mainly because the last video I did with the Quito approach turned into a disaster right at the edge, right at the end of the runway, beginning of the runway. Literally, if I'd had 100 more feet more or 200 feet of air, that would have been a really, really good landing, actually, I think. Alright, so I'm going to put the gear down now. So down comes the landing gear. So we've got flaps fully extended, landing gear down. Very bad visuals, extremely poor visuals in this monsoon condition. Touch below the glide slope, but I'm expecting to see the runway any moment now.
160 knots and lower the gear.
Okay.
Retract the speed brake if extended.
So the speed brake isn't extended, but it is set for landing, which is what we want. I don't think this aircraft setting allows you to set any kind of auto brakes on landing, so what we'll see if we land successfully is the spoilers coming up, and at about 100 feet, 50, 100, maybe 150 feet from the runway, I'm going to turn off the autopilot and take over the controls.
Final approach checklist. Landing gear down. Flaps set to 30 degrees. Speed
So
brakes
that's checked,
armed.
that's
Final
checked,
approach checklist complete.
and that's checked. Still can't see the runway. Conditions are that bad. We should be able to see the runway very soon though. We're now nicely lined up on the glide slope. Nice and straight in terms of the heading. Just about on the glide slope, just a touch below it. I'm just going to put this to 162, 163 again. I feel a bit more comfortable after the Quito crash, as I say. Okay, really nothing much to see here. Okay, and we can see some land coming out from under the rain. See some land there. Still really hard to see the runway. You can't see anything in that. More lightning. Just reflection there. can see some ground there though. We're pretty close actually. 920 feet. And there's the runway in sight right there. You can see the lights now and the guide lights as well. So I am going to come out the virtual cockpit just so I can switch off the autopilot and the speed hold as we get closer to the final landing. Just going to reduce the speed now to 160 as suggested. Throttles are sort of there, so I'm going to set my throttle to about the same. Okay, 400, 380, 360, 320, auto throttle off. We just got a bit of lift there, get rid of the cockpit there. Back in the virtual cockpit, and there we go, we've landed. Nose down gently, apply a bit of brakes. That was pretty satisfying. Throttle off, throttle down, spoilers are still armed. So they were armed, they've come up nicely. And we came down quite nicely on the centre of the runway there, without any issues. 1 out of 2. Not good enough in real life, but certainly good enough on the simulator. Obviously we don't get the mission success because of the failure earlier on.
Landmark 1123 Heavy, turn next taxiway, welcome to Singapore.
Okay, so that's a taxiway right there, so I'm going to turn straight off. Be interesting if they actually give the mission. I don't think it will, because it did say mission failed, but kind of deserved it. I should just go now and park the aircraft over on the left here. So just turn this way. And I'll just bring the aircraft to a stop here near this area. And I'll call that a day. Quite pleased with that in the end. So, I wonder if there's not a replay on this one, so I'll just finish it there. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed that.